Hello, all. Today on Theoretical Nonsense, we're going to be discussing video game cheating, Sheldon's budget, glow in the dark ant farms, and hydrogen sulfide and ammonia gas. Stay tuned. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
Make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Well, Ryan, are you ready for a Brobdingnagian size episode of Theoretical Nonsense?
I am so ready. And I'm so ready to talk about that word, Brobdingnagian.
I was so excited to do this episode just because of that word. I was like, it's one of those things like you listen to, you hear it, and like, I'm never going to look that up. I'll take his word for it.
But I did. I looked it up.
Yes.
I got stuff I got to talk about.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, what'd you think of this episode? The hot troll deviation.
I actually really liked it. I like Bernadette's back. I like finding out what went wrong. I wish they would have told us or kind of mentioned it before. It's almost like they were going to get rid of her character and then decided not to, and it felt weird. So, anyways, she's back, and I'm happy for that.
I will say, like, I caught the exact same thing where, like, the storyline was almost a little too jerky to the point where it's like, well, we want her back. Let's just figure it out. Oh, how about this? But it still worked out. I still really enjoyed it. Great cameos.
I think they did a good job with what happened. I mean, it was funny, and her coming back was funny, so they made it work. Yeah, like you said, great cameos. It was a good episode.
Yeah. But before we dive into that, a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to email us. Our email has been very lonely at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Shoot us something. We're going into the new year. This actually airs right before New Year's, so hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season.
Yeah, and having a good New Year's with some good resolutions and bright futures.
Make a resolution, break it. Who cares? You do you.
Go to the gym. Don't go to the gym. No, fuck it. Just be happy.
Drink some beer. Don't drink some beer. Whatever.
Send us a message. Write a 5-star review. Whatever.
That should be your New Year's resolution. Write us a 5-star review.
Yeah. I think that's a great resolution. Everybody should have that resolution.
We love those. That'll be a holiday gift to us, too.
It will.
And as we're going into the new year, this is the last episode before we enter in 2025, I thought that it would be nice to end it with a neighbor update.
Ooh. So Christmassy.
Not really at the same time. If you're new to our show, there was a true crime incident that happened in my world. You should check out the full story in our episode 22, which was season 2, episode 4 of the Griffin equivalency. It's like the first hour of the episode I dedicate to this story, but we've been keeping track of the trial essentially. So yeah, she actually finally got a trial date.
Oh, that's nice. Good for her.
Yeah, but there's 2 of them listed on her docket. So one is actually coming up soon, where I was hoping to go through the docket and get a little bit more elaboration of what's going on, but these dockets really are not that detailed. So as of a month ago, there was just another hearing, another call of the list, and then right now, so it's said that she actually had a trial scheduled this past November, and then another call of the list, she had a trial scheduled in November, and then there was another hearing scheduled in December. So in about 10 days from now, but it will already be like a week past when this launches. And then I guess they're just doing another trial, or I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but she has another trial scheduled in February. And that's where we left off at.
Sometimes they do like pre-trials just to say, okay, you're you, I'm me, and we'll see you in February.
That sucks. Back to jail. But yeah, like I said, these dockets really just are not as detailed. So I'm sure if I dove deeper, I could figure it out. But from this initial search to give everybody that year-end closure, but not closure, there you go.
She's still there, and yeah.
And if this intrigued you enough, you should go back and listen to that episode. It's a doozy.
It is a doozy.
Not to hype it up, but yeah, it's the greatest story you'll ever hear.
It's pretty fucking good.
Well, all right. Anything else before we dive into this episode?
No, I think that's it.
All right, I'm going to try to utilize my mute button as much as possible so I don't cough into the mic.
Fair.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I'm just a tad sick, but nothing life-threatening, hopefully.
As he falls over. Oh, God, Rob! Podcast over. Good night.
It's not what you think. It's just hot troll action.
It's just some hot trolling it over here.
We are on Season 4, Episode 4, The Hot Troll Deviation, aired October 14th, 2010, written by Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and teleplay by Lee Aronson, and directed by Mark Sandrowski. Opening scene, we are at the Cheesecake Factory, and Sheldon and Raj are having a very heated discussion whether or not Xenon emits ultraviolet light. Raj is mad and says that if Sheldon was a superhero, he'd be Captain Arrogant, and his powers would be arrogance. So, in my world, obviously he wouldn't be a superhero. Sheldon would definitely be a villain.
You would think so, although maybe like he uses that arrogance for good deeds. How is that even possible? Like you're so arrogant, but you use it for goodness.
I can picture Sheldon thinking he's a hero, but really the things that he does is definitely villainous.
It reminds me of like South Park with Captain Hindsight, where all he does is fly in and says what people should have done, and they're like, "Thank you, Captain Hindsight." Like not really a true superhero, but probably not helping anything either.
Well, Sheldon corrects him and says he would actually be Dr. Aranganto. And then they kind of get into it a little bit more, and then Sheldon wins by calling Penny over to shut Raj up.
That's a great...
And I thought that was a great utilization of his handicap.
And I did a IQ point on what they're arguing about, xenon gas.
Oh, go for it.
All right. So I kind of did this into two parts. Xenon gas and what they were probably talking about in regards to dark matter discoveries. And since this was aired in 2010, I have some ideas of probably what it is, but I'm not super positive. But so we can start off with xenon, the abbreviation XE, atomic number 54, is a dense, colorless, odorless, noble gas, and it's used in flash lamps and arc lamps. Basically, that's from Wikipedia, but from the University of Toledo, explains it a little bit more, that when an electric charge excites xenon gas, basically when it's in a tube, what we would call like a neon sign or something, it emits a blue or light lavender glow. Basically, the electricity agitates it and causes electrons to shift orbit, shift gears, and when they jump, they produce a spark of light. And when they calm down, they go back down and they emit, like it says, releases another energy of light. So basically, electricity agitates it and causes it to glow. That takes us into what they were talking about, the dark matter discoveries and how xenon connects with those. And the first thing I found, and I don't think this is what they were talking about, but according to NASA, that in August 18th, 2010, there was some news about astronomers using the Hubble Space Telescope to narrow in on the nature of dark energy, basically using calculations and mathematics to increase the measurements of dark energy by basically what my understanding was. They examined a massive cluster of galaxies, the cluster named Able 1689, and they were using it kind of as a lens to picture and assess the shapes behind it, the galaxies behind it. And the notion is that using this galaxy as a lens would distort those shapes, and it compared it to like a funhouse mirror. And that by understanding how it was distorting the shapes of those other galaxies behind it, they were able to kind of process how dark energy was bending and manipulating how we see those galaxies. So it was giving them a better image of the dark matter within this galaxy, Able 1689. That was my understanding. It was really, really condensed, and I was looking at some more specifics, and it was way above my head. But again, that didn't talk anything about Xenon, so I don't think that's what they were talking about. What I did find is that, according to BBC's Sky at nightmagazine.com, apparently a British group called Zelpin installed a black or dark matter detector in the Grand Sasso Tunnel in 2010. And the Grand Sasso Tunnel, I'm sorry, I keep saying Sasso Tunnel, is in the Italian Apennines. I'm going to butcher these words, I apologize. Basically, they wanted this area that's shielded from cosmic rays and other disturbances because they were going to try to detect dark matter. And the detector is xenon based. And so I'm guessing this is what Raj was talking about. And to my understanding, they basically, in this really, really dark place, completely blocking out all cosmic rays and stuff and disturbances, they monitor. They have like a photosynthesizer, that's not right, photo detector, light detector, processing the light given off by xenon. And in this undisturbed place, I guess it's assumed that when dark matter hits the nucleus of a xenon molecule, it emits slight light. Something about that causes agitation, and it causes it to light up. From my understanding, they haven't really found anything as of yet. So it's been like even years since then, and I couldn't find anything saying, oh yeah, they've studied all this stuff about and found out dark matter means this. But they have updated that detector, and the current version is called Xenon NT. So Xenon T. And again, it's searching for the flashes of light produced when dark matter hits the xenon nucleus. And I read from other sites too. I couldn't find anything strictly on why they picked xenon, but apparently it's because it does light up. It's a regular recurring gas that's pretty easy to find. It's pretty stable as well, so it's got all these things going for it. And with all that said, I'm not exactly sure what Raj's point is, because my understanding is xenon doesn't just glow by itself. And so there's no reason it would discredit dark matter. The notion is that it would take some sort of disturbance to cause it to glow. And if you've eliminated all the other outside disturbances, it would have to be dark matter. So they don't go into too much depth in the show about what they're arguing about, but I'm going to side with Sheldon here that Raj seems completely off base with it. So that's my understanding. And if anybody has more information, I would like to hear more about it, because I think it's interesting using basically what, I don't know, I just imagine it's like a Miller sign light with xenon in it. And they're like, is it going to glow? That's the dark matter. Drink Miller or something.
It must be dark matter.
It must be dark matter. Let's all crack one open to that. I'll drink to that. So anyways, that's the IQ point. I think Raj was wrong.
Yeah, I didn't actually do any research on this one because it did feel like we were just entering in a partial conversation, so I couldn't really gauge the context. So I was like, I'm just going to skip it.
That's fair. That there was something later that I felt that way with a little bit too. I don't want to get into it yet, but I'm like, that seems like something I don't want to get into, but because it's in the middle of it.
Well, now that Penny is over there, she predicts their next moves as they never get dessert there. Sheldon doesn't eat dessert on Tuesdays. Raj can't talk to her. And Howard will just say something pervy. And Leonard is lactose intolerant. Which I'm wondering why he doesn't just take a Lactaid. Or is lactose so extreme that a Lactaid wouldn't work?
That's a good question. And it might not. I just heard the story. Some other people might have heard it too recently. About a woman who had a peanut allergy. Did you hear about this? And she went to a restaurant that she had gone to regularly and ordered something she ordered regularly because she knew it didn't have peanuts in it, but they had just changed the recipe and she hadn't gotten the message and she had an allergic reaction and immediately used her EpiPen and still died on the way to the hospital.
Oh, God.
And it was my understanding if you had the EpiPen, like you were like it was going to be rough, but like you wouldn't die. I didn't realize you could still die with the EpiPen, so that was news to me. So it could be that Lactaid just doesn't do enough for him. That it still causes, what does she say, his intestines to swell up like a balloon.
Well, they do say in other episodes that he just gets a little farty.
A little farty.
That bad. But dang, that's a crazy story in the peanut allergy.
Right? It's really tragic and sad. Man.
Yeah. Well, we also learned that Leonard can't have melon either. So a lot of things on the no-fly list in Leonard's world.
But he was trying. He did ask if they had the fruit salad, so good for him.
Can't just pick it out? No? Okay. No special orders? No? Okay. Well, now we get the return of Bernadette, which we learned a little while ago that they broke up, but we never found out why. And Howard tries to be all cool, like, oh, how am I going to play this? Am I going to be cold and distant or blah, blah, blah? And then he ducks down like a coward. And then we get the opening credit. And now we shuffle over to Howard's room, where he is getting in the mood.
Dun, dun,
Lights are off,
dun,
music's
dun.
playing, his lightsabers glow, which I will say I really wanted those lightsabers mounted on my wall when I was younger. Never got them, though. So, good
It's
for
never
Howard.
too late, Rob.
You know, Christina, it is too late.
Oh.
Well, Howard is setting so he's in the mood, and now we get the return of Katie Sackhoff, and she's in her Battlestar flight suit, and he's getting ready, chatting her up and everything, and then Mrs. Wolowitz yells up to Howard, and she's looking for her girdle. She's late for Weight Watchers. Just a bit of a mood killer. And then he resets himself, and then bam, it's Bernadette there instead. And he's thinking about her, most likely like what she says. He just saw her and he's hung up on her. And then boom, George Takei enters.
Oh my.
He's so confused in so many ways. George Takei, best known for playing Sulu in Star Trek, and has a ton of credits actually before Star Trek. I was like, kind of crazy. His first credits were in the 1950s.
Wow.
It was from old Godzilla movies. Granted, he was uncredited, but it's still on his list from the 1950s. So he's had a rich resume before Star Trek, and it's crazy that's really all he's known for.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea. I didn't even think he was that old. So wow.
Yeah, he's still crushing it too. I looked at his more recent stuff. He's still in a lot of movies and TV shows, but he does a ton of voice acting now. So there's a new superhero show called Hit Monkey he's in. He was a voice in the new Avatar series on Netflix. Then there's a new version of He-Man, and then Paws of Fury. And if you're interested, he also has a great Instagram account too.
I have heard about the Instagram account. I see posts of it.
Yeah, I really like his account.
I'm just not on Instagram that much. Like I have to see it through Facebook. Like I have yeah, Facebook's my go-to, which even that's probably too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to tone it down on social media a little bit, especially with like all the election stuff just like plaguing everything. It's like I just don't want to look at anything like this. I need to zone out and everything. So I've actually been reading up on a lot more food blogs. So it's been really nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, a little update. Oh my god, I was debating if I wanted to tell you this, but a little update from last time we met. I was telling you about my yeast problem with bread.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm such an idiot. I'm so used to just buying instant yeast, like just going to the store, grabbing instant yeast. It's the same bottle, it's the same this and everything. It looks the exact same. I have active yeast. So I'm like, I had to proof it, but all this time I didn't think about it because in my mind it was instant yeast. But with the active yeast, you actually have to put it with warm water and sugar and proof it, and then you add it to your bread.
You
So
know,
I'm like, crap, because I was like racking my brain. I was like, why isn't this working? And I just looked at the label and it said active yeast. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't say
shit.
instant.
that doesn't look like how you spell instant.
I'm so stupid. That's what happens
begin with an A.
Yeah, just rushing through life, not stopping to read a label.
Tell you, with brewing beer, there is such a huge debate over yeast. You know, it's dry yeast, liquid yeast, and then if you do dry yeast, liquid yeast, if you use starters, if you don't use starters with dry yeast, you at least prime it. You add it to water first, and then add the water-based solution to your concoction, to your wort. But most pros seem to say that you should have a starter, that you need like a liter or whatever starter to kind of grow the cells and get them all perked up and ready before you add it to the wort.
Get them in the mood. Light those lightsabers.
Exactly. Before the girdle kicks in. But, you know, most brewers in my league say, no, I just add the pack to the wort. And I tell you, their stuff tastes totally fine, but I find that my beers taste better when I have a starter, and it could be coincidence that I'm just doing better on those batches, paying more attention, or have the right, you know, calculations and do everything appropriately. But I would say in the last 10 brews, I'd probably say it's been half and half of the ones I've used starters with and not. And the ones I've used starters with, like, for me, noticeably better. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeast confuses me, and I can believe that just adding the active yeast probably did shit for you.
And now I can make bread again.
Now I can make bread again. Yay!
I know, it's so like such a little like mind slip, you know. It's like it's the same bottle, it looks the exact same. Instead of instant, it says active. Didn't even think about it. It's like, oh,
smells the same, looks the same.
10 pounds of bread flour later. Ugh.
Now I just imagine you returning to a life where you like skip and prance around pulling bread up and they're like, bread.
Yep, everything's amazing now. Life is great. I have my carbs.
Like that episode of Scrubs where JD goes to, like, what is it, Chocolate Land? And he's eating everything.
And he eats Turk's hand.
Yeah. All right.
Well, now Katie and George leave, and Mrs. Wolowitz found her girdle. And she says that she's spilling out like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Speaking of dough.
Yeah, I'll eat that.
I'll eat that. Dough.
But now we shift over to the cafeteria, and Leonard is asking Howard for more details on the breakup. But obviously Howard doesn't want to discuss it, that he just did a stupid thing, which is vague.
It's embarrassing, you know? He just doesn't want to see her.
Yep. And then enter Sheldon and Raj, and they're discussing Raj getting a desk for the office. And Sheldon blames the budget for not allowing Raj a desk. But then Raj calls him out, like saying, "Hey, but if there's no money in the budget for my desk, you can buy red vines, marshmallow shooting rifle, and a super executive ant farm with glow in the dark sand." It's like, yeah, that's pretty important, Raj.
So I
And
did an
then
IQ point about that. How
the
much of a
glow in the
budget
dark
would that
sand.
cost? A little bit
Oh,
of that, but the prices, because I was like, I don't think
oh,
it
for a
costs
desk,
that much.
it
Uh,
doesn't.
or I think the desk would probably be pretty expensive. Desks get to be like $500-$600, right? And the one Raj brings in later is probably several $1,000s. I don't know where he got it.
Oh yeah.
But
It's
for
funny,
all,
like just use a folding table. It's funny, like when my boss moved from San Francisco to where I am now, it's funny, like he was given a desk, but he didn't want to use it because it was on the other side of the building. He'd rather be in the kitchen, like with me and working on
uh
projects for like a full
partying.
year. He just used a folding desk when it was white, like barbecue like desks, or not
Mhm.
desks, like a table, like a plastic folding. He just used that for like a full year. The funniest thing in the world was like, dude, they gave you an office over there
You
with a
have an office.
window.
I don't
You want to
like
hang
it.
out with me? I'm not that interesting.
It's haunted, Rob. It's haunted. So
Just put in a lightsaber mount and you'll be fine. It'll scare the ghosts away.
so yeah, I did technically two parts because they said ant farm with glow in the dark sand because the ants do their best work at night. So the second part of this is do ants do work at night? But the first part is just how much would he be using of his budget for red vines, marshmallow rifles, and an ant farm? And working at a school, I'm sure he doesn't have that much of a budget, so this is kind of a waste of money, but not that much. But what I saw was a bucket of red vine goes for about $13. A marshmallow rifle goes for about 26. And I thought it was interesting. The company I was looking at that had several marshmallow rifles was called Zing, and it made me think of Bazinga. But $26 there. And an ant farm, and here's where things get kind of interesting or sketchy. I don't know if sketchy is the right word. Because there are multiple types of ant farms. I looked up glow in the dark ant farm, and I got regular ant farms with sand, and apparently they make gel ant farms, and it was the same company. It's called Insights Geo Safari. Made these two that I was looking at. They were pretty high rated. They were kind of middle ground because I saw ant farms that were like $10, and I saw ant farms that were like $200. And this seemed like it had the most reviews, most stars, best ratings. But the one with sand was $35, and the one with gel was $25. Thing is, the gel one apparently has LEDs in the bottom, and so you can look at it at night and see what they're doing, and then like it all glows up. So you don't need glow in the dark sand. And that's kind of important because one, it's $10 cheaper, and two, glow in the dark sand wasn't as easy to find as I thought. I looked it up, and what I could find was glow in the dark powder that you could mix with sand. And the glow in the dark powder was like $10 plus, like, I don't know, it was like $10 for sand. But to get what I was seeing as 1 pound of fine glow sand was $125 per pound. And this is the stuff that they use for like mixing into concrete so that it has like texture. All other glow in the dark sand I found was more like gravel that you would put in aquariums. So I don't know exactly if he made the sand or what, but if he was making it himself, I'm guessing with the glow powder type stuff, all this combined was like $84. Not really that big of a hit on the budget. If he actually went out and found like fine glow sand, I'm guessing it was closer to $200. However, if he used the gel ant farm and saved some money, it's all told up $64. Raj is definitely blowing that out of proportion. That's really not that much money compared to, I don't know. I guess he could probably get a desk for $200 or a folding table for $50. So, but then I looked up, do ants do their best work at night? And it turns out that some ants are nocturnal. It's really depending on their species. I found this at orkin.com, citybugs.tamu.edu, and Point Pet Control, Pest Control .com. And apparently carpenter ants are known as nocturnal. And sometimes they are put into ant farms. Mostly, though, red harvester ants are used for ant farms. And technically, red harvester ants are, how do you pronounce it? Diurnal. Basically, they are active during the day. So I would have to assume that for some reason, Sheldon has carpenter ants because those are the nocturnal ones. And apparently there are some that are like kind of both, but mostly this is kind of how it's broken down to. And the other ones don't really get used for ant farms unless he has a weird species. But anyways, it could be that they are nocturnal. But again, I would probably say I don't get why he didn't just use the gel one unless the gel ant farm didn't exist in 2010. With all that said, I'm giving myself a point for being not like Sheldon, because this all comes down to the fact that Sheldon is basically not letting Raj in have a desk because he just doesn't want him to have a desk.
I think he doesn't want Raj invading his space. Like, his office is his space. He looks at it as, I would imagine Sheldon still doesn't look at him as a partner, even though like they established that in the previous episode when they first started working together. It was the whole like, we work with me, or do you work for me?
Exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
So I think in the back of his mind, Raj still works for him.
And his assistant who should have a different room with no desk. Yeah. But I would love to have a friend in my office with a desk if there was a little bit more room. Actually, I do have two desks in my office. I don't know how I got that. It was just there. But I'm thinking
imaginary friend.
My imaginary friend. The new Frasier show. He's gone back to Boston and he's working at Harvard, I think. Harvard. And he has a friend there, and he started teaching again. And he shares an office with his friend, and they both have desks and face each other. I'm like, that I would like that. So again, 1 point for being not like Sheldon. I think that's weird and totally against my personality. So that was my IQ point and my non-Sheldon point.
I'm kind of the opposite. I like having my own space. I feel like sometimes I get a little too chatty sometimes at work. So like when my boss was in there, we kind of chatted a lot more often and everything, and then nothing really got done. And I'm also just, my office is actually in the kitchen. So it's actually in this communal area. And so I'm always seeing people are always passing by and saying hi. So like it gets to a point where it's like, I need people to like go away. So otherwise I'm never going to get anything done.
I think I'm a little bit the opposite. Before I got my own office, I was working in a shared space that was like an adjunct office. And it has like probably, I want to say like 12 to 15 computers set up like around this pretty big room. And it's like cute, small cubicles, partial cubicles. And when I first started there, like definitely pre-COVID, I would go in and, I'd say a third to half of it was full. And I got to know the people and talk to them a little bit, but they were all diligent. And I felt like I was going into a workspace and I'd sit down and, I'd scroll Facebook a little bit. No one cared because they weren't my bosses. And then I'd do some grading and I felt like I was kind of kept in check. But after COVID, before I got my office now, I was in that same space and people had either left, stopped coming in, retired, gone to different colleges. But I haven't seen anybody in that office in probably 3 or 4 years. And I stopped doing stuff and I'd get up and walk around and look in the crannies. I would find boxes and I felt kind of like it was The Shining. If you ever read the book The Shining, or have you only seen the movie?
I've only seen the movie.
In the remake, they get into it, but I don't think the Kubrick version of the movie gets into it, where the dad goes into the basement, I think it is, and starts looking through all the old newspapers and gets really obsessed with the history. And so, like, I'm like opening up these boxes and looking, and like there's stuff from like the late 90s and the early 2000s, and I'm like, why is this still here? Like, what's going on? And then like before I know it, the day's over. I've done nothing, and I feel like I'm lost. It was such a bizarre experience. So, anyways, that's my thought on working alone. Like murder mystery, students disappearing in attics. Like what? What?
Well, as a college professor, what do you even have a budget? Like, what do you do?
So it
How many marshmallow
depends.
rifles do you have?
10. I get it's kind of like a self-development allowance. And as an adjunct, I don't think I got it. But now that I'm becoming full-time, I'm realizing it's there. I think there might be something there for adjuncts that I just never knew about. But I get so much money every year. I don't even know how much I want to say it's like $1,000 or something. To use on things like workshops or conferences I want to go to, or books or stuff. The thing is, if I buy it, technically the school owns it, and so I've heard, I don't even know who I heard this from, but I think it was at Penn State, somebody talking about it, where they would buy video game systems, and technically the school would own the video game system, but they would use it for like programming assistance and programming awareness or something. To
Sure.
Yeah, right. That was my thought at the time. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. Let's play some Halo.
Okay.
But yeah, technically, and like I think I can like buy books with the budget, but if I leave the school or retire, like the books stay with the college, and I don't know what they'll do with them. But there is a thing, and like I think some people might use it for like computers or like handheld devices to stay in touch and do schoolwork. I don't know all the stipulations. I just know that I used mine for a conference last year to work on fiction and teaching research papers a little bit. So
They own that knowledge now. So whenever you leave, they're going to extract that knowledge.
Drill right here in my brain and just suck it out. So yeah,
I'm just kind of curious. I didn't even really think about Sheldon's budget on how much he actually has and everything like that. But it's one of those things like, would they really even approve his expenses? I'm seeing a lot of red vines on this. Why are you spending so much on marshmallows?
So I see the marshmallows are taking up a hefty chunk of your budget. Self-development. They're for self-development.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to switch to off-brand.
So I'm watching the show. I think I told you, The Middle. And the dad, the janitor from Scrubs, is like the head of a quarry, and he's like all the guys doing like demo and rock excavation, I guess, come into his office and chit chat from time to time, and they had like a big bucket of pretzels, and to save some money, he had to cut the pretzels out of the budget. And they threw like a protest and stopped working. They're like, "We want our pretzels." I just imagine Sheldon doing that with the red vines. Like, they took my red vines. I can't do work now.
I do my best thinking with red vines. Well, cool. Anything else on budgets or glow-in-the-dark ants and farms?
I think that's it. As a actual project, I don't think $200 is a big deal if it was personal for him, but I think this is an actual project budget. I think he has quite a bit more funds than that. So,
well, he's just a theoretical physicist. His main job is thinking.
Right? Yeah.
Writing stuff down. I can see Leonard's definitely being a lot higher as an experimental physicist
with the computer equipment and running stuff. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, back to it. Well, Raj makes the logical suggestion and says, what if I just pay for a desk myself? But then Sheldon just tries to block that idea, but then everyone's like, dude, come on, don't be a dick. He concedes, and then he lets him get a desk. So now we shift over to Penny's apartment, and we get some knocks on her door. Knock, knock, Penny. Knock, knock, Penny, in Sheldon's voice. But bazinga, it's Howard.
I do like the fact that Penny was sniffing her clothes. And it's fine. Like trying to decide if it was dirty enough.
Don't we all do that? Is that not in everybody?
I feel like if I have to sniff it, just go ahead and assume it's dirty. Like it's I should know off the top of my head that it's not going to smell, but that's backfired on
Once
me.
you have a kid, things life change. Granted, Penny does not have that excuse, but I've definitely snipped a lot of Hunter's stuff. Like, can you wear this again?
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, Howard had to trick her because she wouldn't open up the door otherwise. Because one time he gave her a teddy bear with a webcam in it. Dude,
I
I
was
don't know.
thinking this is really fucked up, and it is, but I feel like she gets him back. Like, not necessarily in this episode, but she does enough against him and making fun of him or pulling tricks on him later on with the nachos. I feel like she does enough that she holds her own. It's not like she lets him get away with it. So
Yeah, she definitely dicks him over.
yeah, but it's still a fucked up move. A webcam
Like,
and a
dude.
teddy bear. That's fucked up. For a friend, even like wow.
I know. It's like you guys. At this point, you guys are supposed to be. I guess we don't know how long ago that was, but even then, it's like you cut ties with that person,
right? And just for fact, don't check the teddy bears I got you, Rob. Don't check them.
Well, I have them in the bathroom, nice and tidy.
That's good.
So,
that's good. That's where they're supposed to be. They are bathroom teddy bears.
They're nice and watchful, and they encourage me to do my business.
Yeah, we support you, Rob.
Yeah, and this weird blinking red light that comes out of their eyes.
That's love.
Yeah, shooting love at me. Well, he's there to ask about Bernadette and wants to know if she's seeing anyone. And then Penny kind of dives into it. It's like, well, why did you guys break up? After a little bit of convincing, we finally get the story. He virtually cheated on her via World of Warcraft. His character had sex with Glycinda the Troll under the Bridge of Souls. So I did a little bit of research on this.
I did too. I'm curious what you came up with because I went a weird way. I'm curious where you took it because I got some weird stuff.
Did we go in the same weird direction?
That's the question. How weird do you go?
I went a little weird. I basically just wanted. So I never played World of Warcraft. I played a lot of other games, but I never got into this. My backstory with this is that I wanted to, except I knew someone that actually got kicked out of school because of his addiction to it. So it's like, yeah, it was one of my cluster mates, and it was. I think I told this a while ago on another episode, but he was one of those guys where you kind of talk to him and you could tell that he was like a really smart guy, and I would day and night, I would always just see him playing World of Warcraft. So I just kind of assumed like, oh, he must be one of those smart guys that doesn't have to go to class and he just takes the test and passes. About 2 weeks later, I'm like, what happened to where'd he go? It's like, oh,
wasn't that smart guy?
Because of that, I've always had like a no World of Warcraft like rule. Like I can't do that. So I honestly wasn't sure about the true ability for characters to have sex.
For me, I never did it because World of Warcraft, you had to pay like $10 a month, and I felt really weird paying that much money for a single game. And like for me, like I'll get into games here and there for a few weeks, or I'll play a little bit here and there, like a few hours a day every couple of weeks, but $10 a month. I mean, like that at the time, that was like I guess it was right before Netflix had streaming, but when Netflix started, I mean, like, that's what streaming costs for a whole media provider. I'm like, for one game, that's kind of steep. So I never thought I would
at a
get
time
$10.
before monthly fees, and now all you get are monthly fees now.
Yeah,
like with PlayStation, with the PlayStation Network, with the Xbox, and everything like that. Everything has like either an annual or monthly. But at the time, it's like, whoa! I just paid $60 for this game, or 50.
And I could almost do it for like Xbox at the time. I did it with Xbox because I'm like, all my games I could play online for $10 a month. But with World of Warcraft, it's like only that, and I'm like, I can't. Like, I guess if I got consumed with it, I'd be fine with it. But I never had that opportunity. And like you said, you pay $60 for the game. You don't want to pay another $10 just to play it.
But here we are now.
Here we
in
are.
2024.
We missed out a
Pissing away
whole
money
experience.
left and right.
All I have is regrets with World of Warcraft.
Well, I kind of had a feeling that characters couldn't actually, like,
and out and out.
I kind of assumed it was more like a Call of Duty or a Halo thing, where as soon as like you frag them, you kind of just stand over them and kind of just hump them.
Yeah.
I kind of just figured that that's what it was, but so I had to look into whether or not the characters could actually, do it, and the answer is no.
No,
you really can't. So this is a kind of a plot hole that they just threw in there, and you cannot go to the Bridge of Souls. So,
or what I read was that you can go to it, you can't go underneath it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that like you have to cross it to fight somebody. In fact, what was it? The Shirak the Dead Watcher is who you fight on the other side. Apparently, if that means anything to anybody.
Yep. If you want to talk to us about Diablo, though, we'll know what that is.
I was thinking that it might be like other games, like Dragon Age, or I think even in not Half-Life. What is that? Mass Effect. Like you can have sex in the games. I don't think it shows anything really, but you do have sexual relations. And I know in some games there is some nudity. I think Baldur's Gate, you get to have sex with people. So I was thinking maybe you could have sex in World of Warcraft, but like you said, you can't do it.
And I feel like all those games where you can't have sex into it, besides Leisure Suit Larry, like back in 2010, this really wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, most of those games are new.
Auto, you could pick up a hooker, but even then it's like they're insinuating that he was cybering, that he was basically like really truly cheating, and it got me wondering, it was like, was he jerking it like while they're doing it? It's kind of like, what do you think he was? I mean,
I don't
think he was either. I don't think he was, but it's kind of like, I think she just saw him kind of like engaging in it. I don't know, chatting with them about it and everything like that. I don't know.
And so this is where my research got kind of weird, because I started. I started jerking. No, I mean that's that one.
I mean, lightsabers,
lightsabers on. Because I started looking into, is having sex in a video game cheating? And I want to start off by saying Google's Gemini clearly has a stance on it, saying no, usually it's not. So Google has an opinion, even though Bernadette seemed to think it was, or at least Howard felt guilty for it. Most people would not see playing a video game and having sex with another character as cheating until there is somebody on the other side. It's not, if it's an NPC, it's okay. Non-playable character, it's okay. But once there's a character on the other side, which I don't think games really have yet, and the thing is, once there's a character on the other side, you start getting the chat forum involved, and there's a big line between a lot of people saying, if they're just doing it and playing the game, it's fine. But if they're chatting with the person and saying sexual things to each other, that becomes the cheating element. And the connection they make with the other player, not what's happening in the game for fictional storytelling purposes, but the connection they've made and they're having fun with it. That could be considered cheating. But I went on forums where people felt like people playing video games and having relationships in games was a form of cheating, and they felt really jealous and angry about it.
Well, there is emotional. It's kind of like emotional cheating. Like, it's very different. Like, men look at more the physical aspect, whereas they say that women, I don't want to speak for all women on this, but like it's more of like the mental relationship, the emotional relationship. Like, yeah, and I get it.
We say that, and that was a big part of it, is that on the forums they brought up men watching pornography. My thought process is women read more books, and I've read some of the most popular books over the last couple of years. and they are as raunchy as some of the top porn I've ever seen. So I'm like, I don't think it makes
Tell me
it
about the
okay that you're
porn you've
reading it.
seen.
It's I I have this one on my shelf right now. In fact, I have it over here somewhere because Kelsey just gave it to me. But apparently it's about if Peter Pan was pornographic, and Peter.
You mentioned this before, yes.
Yeah, I want to read it because I'm like, where's this going?
Yeah.
But like one of the biggest series right now is Ice Planet Barbarians, which is basically, I mentioned this one too. Basically,
You mentioned this
Avatar.
last episode, I think.
Was it
It
the
was the
last?
last
It just
episode or
keeps
the
coming up.
episode before. I know. Like, I guess we're gonna have to do a book club.
So I'm
So
curious.
I can't make it past page 10.
Just keep reading page 10. It's a good page. And repeat. And then I'm reading one now called Iron Flame. It's a sequel to one called Fourth Wing, and it's supposed to be like one of the best sellers of last year. It's part of a trilogy, and the third book's not out yet. But like the main characters, like in the middle of arguments, just start like basically having sex, and it's like, wait, there's a battle going on, there's a war going on, and they're just gonna do it? Like that's not realistic.
You know
This is
flowing. That hot war blood.
and lightsabers on. Wow, they don't even have lightsabers in this book. So anyways, I'm like, if it's fiction and it's a story, I can see, it's everybody to each their own, and I can see how emotions can build up. But I do see quite a big difference between fiction and a non-connection, and seeing characters either video game, video, or a book compared to actual chatting with somebody and exchanging feelings of some sort. But from what they say throughout this episode, it sounds like he was clicking a lot but wasn't touching himself.
Do you think that he was talking to listen to the troll?
I don't think so. I think they were clicking.
So like just not chatting, not talking, just clicking?
Yeah. And from even what I saw, one forum I went to was talking about a girl who was kind of harassed in World of Warcraft. And I don't know, like this was all I could find was like secondhand news forums discussing stuff like this. I couldn't find any authentic official reports. But she said that she was, and like you said, it wasn't necessarily talking or direct sex. It was stuff like where people will kill you and then squat on your head to represent the sexual acts. People would be wearing no clothes and jump into each other to represent it, and then be casting spells to represent sexual relations like ejaculation. And she said there wasn't even any conversing. It was just like the emoticons and visuals of it to represent it. So, again, you can't go under the bridge. So I don't know how authentic this is, but it was. I was kind of leaning to the side that he didn't talk to her, he didn't do anything except click around. But I don't know what, if you have a thought, email us. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah.
Do you click around or do you type around? What did you think, Rob? Yeah.
I don't think Howard was touching himself. I think he was clicking, but I do think that he was like on like a headset and they're talking to each other. Like, I'm sure like there's some sort of like voice changer or something like that. Or, I mean, that's just what I think, because otherwise it does seem like a very overreaction to just walk in on someone and they're just like, and like, because I was thinking like, imagine like, because I do this on Call of Duty, you know, it's like you kill someone, you walk over, and then you crouch up and down, like,
you got teabag him. Yeah, it's part of the game.
It's part of the game. I just I picture myself doing that, and Christina walking in, she'll just be like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?
What? Who did I marry?"
Yeah, and I'll just be like, "Baby, I'm teabagging this guy. Check it out."
I get extra points.
And leaving.
Over.
Baby, did you see? Baby.
I'm teabagging for you, babe.
This was for you. I did it for you. like if they're just clicking, I just can't imagine logically that Bernadette would even really care that much unless he was actually like talking to someone, and she'll be like, "What is happening? What are you doing? Like, who are you cybering with?"
And even if it was like just chatting on the screen, like being able to see the images on the screen and the dialogue on the screen, like you have to look pretty closely at a screen to see what's going on.
If they're typing to each other, maybe that was
Yeah.
it.
And to walk in and realize what's going on, I would assume like I don't know, I'd probably just imagine the characters fighting each other unless I watched for a few seconds and really paid close attention. So like you said, it seems like there must have been some talking going on for it to really click. There's a lot of loopholes and questions about this.
I know. We need answers. Chuck Lorre, I know you're listening.
Tell us. What happens under the bridge, Chuck? What happens?
Or maybe we'll find out in the vanity card.
Oh, so I was under the bridge. like I'm thinking now of what is it? Not Stone Temple Pilots. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
yeah that one.
Bridge, yeah.
And Nirvana's Under the Bridge one, where he makes friends with the animals, right?
Oh, which one was that?
I think it might be called Under the Bridge, but he says something like, all the animals are my friends. In the biography, it talks about the bridge. And it's like, the bridge isn't that amazing, and he only lived there for like a day. Like, he really over embellished it. But apparently the bridge is real, and whatever song. I'm going to look this up. What song is that? Somebody out there is listening to us and like, how can you not know?
Just screaming, how dare you said you're from Seattle. You should know this. Right. You should know the Nirvana discography.
It's Something in the Way.
Oh, about the homeless. Yeah. Okay, I do know that song. Yeah.
It's a great song. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But apparently he got mad at his parents and like lived under the bridge for a day and like came back. I don't know. That's what the biography said, and I know he took some liberties with the biography, but still, it's good.
All right. Well, anything else on video game cheating?
I think that says it all for me. I think that says it all.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people. Yeah, just a lot of people have different opinions on what's cheating.
I feel like know your partner, have a conversation with them. I felt like
create an account with them.
Create an account, go under the bridge with them, see what happens. If Kelsey I walked in and she was jumping around with a character, I'd probably feel kind of weird, but I don't think I'd think it was cheating. I just feel kind of weird, like why? So I don't know. I would judge her. Right. How about that? I would judge her.
Just. Well, Bernadette, when she saw it, she left so fast she wouldn't even hear his side of the story, which wasn't a great story. That it could have just been a 50-year-old truck driver in New Jersey. And Howard wants Penny to talk to Bernadette for him, and then he plays the sad nerd card, whose dad left him when he was 11 years old. Penny just says that she'll think about it, and then he just starts laying it on even thicker. That he blamed himself for his dad leaving. Maybe he was the son that he never wanted. He wasn't athletic. And then she's like, fine, I'll call him. I'm calling him right now. See? And now we jump over to the university. Leonard and Sheldon are walking down the hall, chatting about Howard and Bernadette. And Sheldon is confused why Leonard is even telling him. I like that. It's like, why do you think I care?
I get a point for being like Sheldon here. In fact, before he even said that, I go, and why is he telling Sheldon this? And then Sheldon says, and why are you telling me this? So besides recognizing that, I have times where, I don't think I've ever said it out loud, but I remember thinking at times where people I smile like, why are you telling me this?
I don't care.
Like this has nothing to do with me. But I try to be polite, but I get 1 point for I know how Sheldon feels there. How he feels.
All right. Well, Sheldon now opens up his office door and he bumps into his own desk because Raj is there with a Brobdingnagian monstrosity. He has this gorgeous desk. Like, it was really nice. And cue childish back and forth. which makes sense because Raj, we find out, has 3 brothers and 2 sisters. So you had some things that you wanted to talk about on Brobdingnagian.
Mm-hmm. So Sheldon says it means large, right? And he says he thinks it's British. I'm curious. I'm going to say I disagree with him. If a word is created in India and it's an English word, would it be a British word?
Wait, it was created in India?
No,
Is that where
technically,
it stemmed from?
that was using that as a reference. But
Oh,
technically,
okay, so it was an example. Okay.
so according to what I found online, it means giant, and it come from Jonathan Swift's novel Gulliver's Travels. Gulliver is a traveler who goes to different lands. He's mostly known for washing up on a shore and being tied up by little people on the beach. There's a I guess it's been a long time since I saw it, but a movie with Jack Black rebooting it. Jonathan Swift, is not British. He's Irish. He's also known for writing a satirical essay that I give my students every quarter called Modest Proposal, which is about how the Irish are so cannibalistic, taking advantage of each other and fighting with each other, especially in the 1700s during the Irish potato famine, and letting the British take advantage of them, that they were dying in the streets, that he was basically like, no, I have this great solution. Let's just eat our babies. If we start eating our babies, we have fewer mouths to feed, we have more food for everybody who's still alive, and we can like make clothing out of their flesh, and we can sell their flesh clothing to other countries. It's a win-win-win. But he's basically saying,
this is a book, right?
It's a satirical essay.
Okay.
So basically, South Park of the time. And a lot of people read it, and they're like, this is horrible, this is offensive. And he's like, it was a joke, but you should probably be nicer to people. So he wrote that essay, he wrote Gulliver's Travels, and he created this word. And technically he created it. It is based on language as he knew it, but he was speaking British English, writing in British English. Technically, America started with British English, but he was Irish. So for Sheldon to say it was a British word, I don't know. I feel like I don't think that's.
Did he live in Britain when he wrote it?
I think he lived in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to look this up. Where did Jonathan Swift
was Gulliver British?
Ooh, now that's a question. Gulliver live. Newark in Nottinghamshire. So maybe he did. Yeah. Where the hell?
So Gulliver, the character, is British, and then he came up with it. Thus, Sheldon is saying it's British. But you do make a good claim that it might not be.
Yeah.
Because it took an Irish person to come up with the storyline. So,
but it came from a guy who lived, or was it a character who lived in England? This is all fascinating to me. So, anyways, that was my thing about the word. That I think it was a jump to say it's British, or he thought it was British. But I'm surprised that he didn't say it was from Gulliver's Travels over that. But yeah, whatever. That was my IQ point for it's not a real IQ point. It was just I learned something today.
Yeah, I learned it too. Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, you went more into depth. I got that it was from Gulliver's Travels, and that's really it.
I just know Jonathan Swift because I talk about that essay, and people are like, "Why do you care so much about Ireland?" I'm like, "I don't know."
It's in my blood, and it's making me think of lightsabers.
Lightsabers. It's all the shepherd's pie I eat.
I do like shepherd's pie,
right?
Except I've never actually had it the true style with lamb. I've always had it with beef.
Oh, I think it's so much better with lamb. I
can't have lamb. There's 2 things that I love in this world. It's lamb and duck, and I can't have any of that because my wife hates it.
Oh, that's sad.
So that means she doesn't like it. That means I don't get it.
Oh, See, Kelsey's allergic to so much and can't have it that if I crave something, I just go out and make it for myself. I'm like, find your own dinner. I'm sorry, I love you, but I need Daddy needs some lamb.
Okay, when you come and visit, or the next time I go see you, we're having lamb. We will
Fair.
get our lamb fix.
So I remember in Japan, lamb was often cheaper than beef. I don't know exactly I don't know, just most of the beef was imported and it was costlier to import it or something. But for meat, we had a lot of lamb if we wanted something ground, or it was like ground mixture, some pork. But I remember using lamb for a lot of stuff. For like spaghetti, for meatballs, I'd use lamb balls. And it wasn't entirely great, but I like lamb. A lot of stews with lamb. And I think that's where I got most of my shepherd's pie authentic with the lamb in it. That I learned there's a difference, and I like it, but I think most Americans don't like the taste of lamb. And it's also more expensive. So usually you get the beef lamb or the beef shepherd's pie.
A beef lamb.
Beef lamb. It's the best of both worlds.
Now we shipped back over to the Cheesecake Factory, and Howard is meeting with Bernadette. They have some small talk about what they've been up to. Bernadette is busy with school. Howard took scuba diving lessons and learned that he's terrified of the ocean. And then he dives into the real question, if she's dating anyone else. Then we get the interruptions from Penny, which have been great.
I love these.
Yeah. Bernadette says that she's not dating, and then she asks Howard if he's been dating, and for some reason he tries to play it cool, which was kind of annoying. It's like, dude, stop fronting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, you know how guys are. You know, we have needs. And he's like, do you mean slutty trolls?
Yeah,
she still burns.
I actually really like Bernadette, like her language and her understanding. I like her as a character, and she seems like a cool person.
Yeah.
Slutty trolls.
Well, Penny comes back to interrupt again with some iced tea, and she just won't leave. And Howard finally has to get real and says that he did those things in the past because he didn't have a real girl. But then she questions him. It's like, hey, you did have a real girl. I was right there in the other room when you were cybering. And then he kind of just claps back like, well, we weren't having sex. And she says, well, the ball was in your court and I was waiting for you to make the move. And then Penny comes back with nachos now.
Complimentary nachos.
And then it all just kind of clicks in with Howard, like, oh my god, we had something really good and I messed it up. All I had to do was make the move. The ball was in my court, blah, blah, blah. And then Penny comes back with the bill. Oops.
That's
Can't
what I was
give away
thinking.
Free nachos.
I would have felt like, oh, that's kind of a shitty move. But like after he said the thing about the webcam and the bear, I'm like, good Penny.
Yeah. What else can I put on your tab?
Right? Like I added the tip for you. Don't worry. Type.
Yeah.
Oops! I can't give away free nachos.
Yeah. Well, now we cut back to the university, and Howard is talking with Leonard, saying that they had a really good talk and they're going to start dating again. And Leonard already knew about Glistinda the Troll, not from Penny, but from Steve Patterson, the greasy old fat guy in facilities management, because he's Glistinda.
That's what if he had a voice changer, they could be talking. But man, even that, nice. Listen to the troll.
Yeah. Well, we're outside of Sheldon's office now, and we hear them arguing. Raj is holding the thermostat ransom until Sheldon turns off the Indian music, which I love that little detail that Raj just doesn't like anything from his home country. He hates Indian food, and now we find out that he doesn't like Indian music either.
Yeah.
And Sheldon says that he'll turn the music off when he gets rid of the parakeet, which we all know that Sheldon doesn't really like birds.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have a marshmallow gun fight, which honestly is not a bad work day.
Right? I thought that looked kind of fun.
Say, okay, I could have a desk make now. That I'd be down with that now. And now we're back in Bernadette's car, and Howard and Bernadette are finishing their date. And Howard's inner thoughts are not really monologued, but they're dialogued by Katie Sackhoff and George Takei.
They've come back.
Yep, they're back, and they're giving him some advice. Katie says to kiss her and throw in that tongue.
She's getting kind of dirty.
Get some.
She wants it. Do it. Like, what?
But George says it's too early. They're just starting their relationship again, and he should take it slow and woo her. You know, she wants to be courted slowly. And I love that Katie's like, how would you know?
Women like that. How would you know?
I read. But Katie gets her first win because the tongue worked. And then she tells him to make the move, but it's too soon. So George wins that round. And now we're back at the university, and Leonard is walking through the hall, and he smells something foul coming from Sheldon's office. He knocks, and Sheldon answers, wearing a mask. Sheldon says that he's making hydrogen sulfide and ammonia gas, and a little experiment in pest control. And I did a little bit of research on this.
This was the one where I decided not to because I thought like it was kind of in the middle of it and how he mixed it. But I'm curious what you came up with because I really thought about doing this one.
Yeah, we do complete each other, don't we?
Right? It's very circular. It's nice.
Well, I was wondering how is he making these? Because he said like, "Oh, I'm making them." It's like, I'm like, can you make that in your little office?
Yeah.
So, hydrogen sulfide, also known as H2S, which is sewer gas, swamp gas, and it's also called a stink damp and sour damp. It's a colorless gas known for its pungent rotten egg odor at low concentrations. It's extremely flammable and highly toxic. It naturally occurs in sewers, manure pits, well water, oil and gas wells, and volcanoes. Side effects from overexposure can range from mild headaches or eye irritation to serious, which is unconsciousness or even death. So it's like, damn, Sheldon, you're playing with some crazy stuff. It can be a byproduct of industrial activities, such as pulp and paper mills, manufacturing rayon, food processing, tanneries, and fur processing, and oil and natural gas refineries.
So what I'm thinking of right now, when you say sewer gas, my mind goes to, and since we are around the holidays, Christmas Vacation, where the sewer gas builds up and it causes an explosion at the end. So now it makes sense. I get what he's talking about.
Yep. And then he's also said that he's making ammonia. Ammonia is a colorless, highly irritating gas with a sharp, suffocating odor. About 80% of the ammonia produced in industry is used in agriculture as fertilizer. Ammonia is also used as a refrigerant gas to purify water supplies and in the manufacture of plastics, explosives, fabrics, pesticides, dyes, and other chemicals. It's found in many household industrial strength cleaning solutions. So cleaning solutions for industrial use contain higher concentrations of ammonia and can quickly cause irritations and burns. So knowing this, I'm like, how are you actually making stuff, or did you just like gather materials and just bring it into your desk or into the office?
Ammonia, I don't know what it's called, but I know if you mix ammonia and bleach, it makes a gas that can kill you. But I've also read that I believe it's ammonia and ethyl alcohol, it makes what's that stuff? chloroform. And so
And you just told everybody that information.
it's common knowledge, apparently. Like, I'm seeing people talk about it. It pops up. I'm searching for it, but it pops up. I think it came from, like, I don't know, a warning department saying, be careful of what you mix in your household. Common products can cause these. And I don't think that they were saying, like, chloroform, like this is what people use to kidnap people. I think they were saying, like, this is an irritant, but I'm like, I know what that is. I know what you're saying here. So anyways, maybe it's a lot easier to make this than you would think if you just know the right household chemicals, I guess.
Which I'm sure is all over TikTok.
Right?
Right now, it's crazy the things that they're putting on TikTok. Like, did you see that thing about how to break into like a lock with a hot glue gun? That's like, what the fuck? Why are you telling everybody this?
I mean, I want to know, but why are you telling?
They basically took a glue, like the glue stick.
Yeah.
They took a lighter and melted the edge, stuck it into a lock, and they let it harden. And then all you have to do is jiggle it, and the whole thing just popped out. I was like, what the fuck?
Huh. Well, that's why we need more deadbolts in the world, I guess.
Yes. Everyone, deadbolt your house.
Deadbolt. I also just like the way you say it makes it hard, and then you jiggle it. And I'm like, oh.
Ooh, someone's lightsaber just turned on.
Yeah, under the bridge.
But yeah, like we said, we entered in a partial conversation, so we don't really know how he's making this gas.
Yeah.
All these things and everything like that. In my mind, I'm like, did you just grab some dead animals and toxic waste and then go to like the supply closet and grab a bunch of cleaning supplies?
Technically, he has a budget. I'm guessing he probably has some access to weird chemicals through his school, but still, that seems he could just go to the supply closet. I don't know. I'm curious.
Well, either way, it's a bad plan because Raj grew up in India, which he says is an entire subcontinent where cows walk in the street and nobody ever has a solid bowel movement.
That was so harsh. I laughed, but I'm like, God damn, Raj.
Burn. Well, it's not going to burn as much as what happens to him when he lights his cinnamon apple scented aromatherapy candles. And he leaves covered in soot and with his bird.
The bird was fine. I was worried about that. I thought they were going to have like some charred parakeet.
I know. Well, that's how the episode ends.
That was a good ending.
Yeah. Great episode. I do really like seeing the characters break off. Like we see them a lot in with certain pairs. You see like Leonard and Sheldon all the time, and you always see like Raj and Howard. It's nice to see the dynamic when they flip-flop a little bit.
Yeah.
Not and Raj, and then Leonard and Howard.
And we see a lot of Sheldon and Penny, and I like seeing Howard and Penny a little bit. They're not great friends, but I think they have a funny dynamic and they stick up for themselves, I guess. They're strong, strong characters, both of them. I also really liked when they came back and it was Sheldon and Leonard, and Sheldon's like, why are you telling me this? Like, that wasn't his storyline.
All right. Well, now we have the vanity card.
Card. It's a long one.
And it's a long one. Fuck you, Chuck Lorre. Here we go. But I still love you, and you should email us.
I love you. Give us a 5-star review, Chuck.
Let us interview you.
Please.
Well, this is Chuck Lorre Productions number 300. 300. An auspicious card. To me, at the very least, it represents my having had a hand in writing and producing 300 episodes of television. Some of which were pretty good, some of which were in color. Additionally, it means that on 300 separate occasions, I tried to turn my 1 second of network time into a form of entertainment. Or, if you prefer, a form of inflammation. Some of the other vanity cards were, like the TV shows preceding them, pretty good. Others were grammatically correct, but still, 300. That has to count for something, right? That's got to be worth some kind of attaboy. I'm certainly not being paid to write these things. In fact, there are several people at CBS and Warner Brothers who'd probably pay me to not write them. Mental note, look into setting up a blind auction predicated on the idea that, for the right price, I would permanently change my written vanity card to a cute picture. Maybe a photo from my most recent colonoscopy. Let's see what the market fetches. Anyway, this is my 300th vanity card. I really wanted to write something that was as important as the numbers seemed to imply. I'm pretty sure I failed. Attaboy.
I wonder if he would get some sort of perverse joy knowing that, like, 15 years later, we're reading these. Like, we have to read all of this now.
I know.
He would never have
It
known
is definitely a deep cut Easter. It's not even really that deep cut of an Easter egg, but it's like it just does flash for just like a quick second, and then just goes away.
There's no way you can read the whole thing. Yeah,
you have to pause it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people are reading these now.
and
300.
I think it's great into the. It's not even about the show, but it's a little bit into the mindset of the creator. And I do like that. I feel like if other shows had that, in fact, it's not even about the show, but have we talked about the show Evil? I think I've mentioned it.
You mentioned it a handful of times. Yeah.
I don't even know how long it was doing this, but the intro, the credit intro, would play, and I noticed that it started having like little messages in it saying like, don't skip, pay attention, it's coming, or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And each one, like at least the final season, would say something different. Nothing ever happened, but I started paying attention, and I feel like given these little Easter eggs or little messages, I like following along. I like getting a little bit of a snippet like this, a little of the insight. Even if we do, I just feel like it's a lot of words to read out loud. And I'm bad at reading. I'm bad at speaking.
Some of these vanity cards, man, they're definitely just like a little snippet out of his journal or out of his mind or whatever he's thinking about in the moment, which is kind of cool. It's like it's a little Twitter feed.
Yeah, pre-Twitter, or is it pre-Twitter? 2010.
It's no, they had Twitter. They've name dropped Twitter like a lot.
When was Twitter?
Granted,
made?
this is way too many characters for Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. But yeah, the mind of Chuck Lorre.
Here we are. Number 300. It took me a little bit too, because this isn't he reuses these for some episodes or some shows, right? Because I think I found that some of the ones he uses for Big Bang Theory he uses in like 3.5 Men, but the notion is,
he'll just like reuse. I kind of just, the way he wrote this, he made it seem like every episode of TV show that he ever makes, he wrote a new one. So if he's reusing them, woohoo, someone's a cheater.
I'd have to double check that, but for some reason when I was looking up some of, not this one, but for some of the previous ones, I swear it said this message aired on these 2 episodes, and they're like different shows. Specifically Big Bang Theory and 3.5 Men. Those were the 2 shows that I saw interconnected. I swear I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. But it's definite. I mean, there haven't been 300 episodes of Big Bang Theory, so it's all of his shows. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he just got mixed up. Tell us, Chuck. We want to talk to you. Let us know.
All right, well, let's count some points.
Okie dokie.
We got 5 IQ points.
And we have 108 points, not like Sheldon. And we have 104 like Sheldon. We went 1 point up on each side this episode. So it was a good episode. I like this one. It was fair on both sides. No cheap points.
Well, all right. Another one down. Thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Also, shoot us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com and leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time when we talk Season 4, Episode 5, The Desperation Emanation. Bye! This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks again. Shooting love at me.